Welcome to Feeling Called Pod. I'm Seth. With me, as always, is Wayne.
Hello.
And of course, Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
Gentlemen, here we are, episode 3, and the moment has arrived. Today, we are discussing a piece of work that is viewed by so many as a high water mark of Britpop, maybe the high water mark. It can be debated, and I'm sure we'll debate it. It's the historic, the timeless, the critically acclaimed, and yes, in this case, I think we can all agree, biblical second album by Oasis. What's the story? Morning Glory. So, anyone want to offer any just thoughts, feelings before we dive in? I have some specifics here, but I mean, great record, right? I mean, massive, huge.
Huge. And I've been really excited to talk about this one because definitely, definitely not maybe passed me by a little bit being a bit younger. Um, this record, that summer, I distinctly remember like the whole Battle of Britpop thing and the anticipation of this coming out. So I've been waiting patiently over the last week to talk to you guys about this.
I was doing a little bit of research, and it's pretty wild how you had this on the TV right there in the UK. I don't think it really hit a critical mass here in the States. Like, I'm sure probably MTV News mentioned a few things or, maybe followed it a little bit, but I was watching actual clips from, legitimate news organizations that would report on the economy or war or, the issues of today. And here they are talking about the Battle of Britpop. So I found that was really interesting and fun.
Yeah, there's always that segment at the end of a news show, and they're like, "Here's another story that takes your mind off everything terrible." But yeah, it was really huge. Britain was completely engulfed with this, and yeah, um, kind of interesting. I was looking at the singles that were released from it today, and I actually hadn't realized that Some Might Say was the first single off this record.
I was
Um,
hoping I would stump you guys with that one. I was
Dang it!
hoping I was like, "Ooh." I remember when Some Might Say came out, and that single is amazing. The A side is great. All the B sides are great. Um, I was hoping one of you guys would be like, "No, it was Roll With It." That
Well, I'll indulge you. I was 100% sure prior to this call it was Roll With It.
Some Might Say came out before they even announced the album. It was almost like, just, is this a one-off? Like, I felt it was weird. I remember being like, well, what is this? Um, I don't know if you guys, I just remember being like, because they did Whatever, which was a one-off, and that was a thing that bands used to do, but never do anymore. But Whatever was a song that was not on an album, and every once in a while bands would do that. And then Some Might Say came out, and it was like, well, there's no album announcement, so it was interesting. And the B-sides from that are great. So I don't know if we want to talk about those now or if we want to wait.
Yeah, I kind of have that slotted for a little bit, kind of when we're in the midst of the album, but um roll. Well, let me get the timing correct here. Rollin' With It also came out before the album too, right? The Battle of
Yep.
Britpop happened
Yeah.
before, because the album came out in I think October of 1995.
Yeah, this is a total autumn winter album
Yeah.
in the grand scheme of things.
Paul, I'm curious because I know when we were talking about Definitely Maybe, it really seemed like you had to search for the not search, but I remember asking, like, you went to to the shop day of, or certainly week of, um, and they only had one copy, and there wasn't really anyone else that you saw searching for it. How did that compare with this? Were there more people?
Okay, I don't. have a specific memory of obtaining the Some Might Say single, but there was a record store in Indiana, like maybe a half hour from where I lived. This was before I went to college. It was called Haguish, and it was in the town of Haguish. So, um, but they had all the imports, and I think I got Some Might Say there. And then I went to college and well, no, Roll With It came out before I went to college, and I bought that in Chicago along with Country House. So I felt like Oasis were still not that huge in the US. It was like very niche still. They were getting more traction for sure, but it was still like you'd go to the record store and it wasn't like people were clamoring for it.
Did you have other music listening friends though that were maybe more hip to them at this point? You know, maybe you turned them on to Definitely Maybe, or they heard you talking about it, or maybe in anticipation of the second record, because these two records are released pretty quickly, one after the other. I
Yeah.
think there was 14 months in between them, which is kind of wild. You know, now you wait 3, 4, 5 years for
It's
a record
totally
to.
wild, but I think it was a genius move. We didn't even talk about whatever, and we don't need to talk about it, but I don't know how many months it was in between that and Some Might Say, but it was so fast. And yeah, I had a few friends that we were all into the same stuff for sure. But then I was in high school, and how many, maybe a couple hundred kids in my class, so things shifted for me a lot when I went to college, and I bought Roll With It and Country House right before I went to college. I brought those CDs with me and along with all my other CDs. I don't think there was a huge like groundswell of Oasis enthusiasm really still at that point.
If Wayne was in the UK and he said he was kind of front and center for and clearly remembers the Battle of Britpop, what can you remember? Was it a big deal in the US music press? I was a little younger, so I don't remember really seeing a lot about it. I think this is something that I kind of learned about as I grew older. Like, oh, Blur and Oasis had this single war. Obviously, you were a Blur fan because you picked up Country House as well. But do you remember it being like this big thing that you were aware of?
I was only aware of it from like reading NME and Melody Maker, and I was able to I had access to those magazines. I was aware of it, but I know in the UK, and maybe Wayne can speak to this, but it was like on the news, and it was not on the news here for sure. Nobody really cared that much here, but I was aware of it, and I was aware that the singles came out at the same time. And one of the things that I was thinking about today is that Oasis put out one CD single and Blur put out two, and one of them was live tracks. And that seemed like cheating to me a little bit. It wasn't, it didn't seem like they were quite on even ground. But I think maybe I didn't research this enough, but I think there was something else like where Oasis put out a cassette and Blur didn't put out a cassette, but I don't know. But everybody bought CDs at that time, and I thought Blur putting out two was a bit of a cheat. But I'm curious what Wayne has to say.
Well, first of all, it's funny you say that everybody bought CDs those days. I had The Great Escape on tape, and I had What's the Story, Morning Glory on CD. So there's a tidbit for you. And then I forgot the question that you asked.
Well, I think it was just like, what was it like in the UK? Because you were a year older when,
I was 11 at this point.
yeah, and you
So
were,
yeah, so like I said, it was everybody had got swept up in this, and even in my rural little village that I grew up in, the kids were talking about it because it was everywhere. But this was also like a really big time for sort of lad culture in the UK, and I'm speaking to it as a bystander who was just looking in. But there were things like Loaded magazine that came out, and it was all about like laddish lifestyle. And, we had crazy tabloids, and they all covered it. So you couldn't escape it over at home. It was that in your face and that prevalent.
But can you give a little more insight into what that like lad culture means? Because I still to this day am not
Yeah.
at it.
Well, if you imagine your Oasis fan who's rocking up in their bucket hat and drinking loads of beer, and generally kind of giving their mates a lot of banter, um, looking at page 3 girls in the sun, going on holiday to somewhere hot and affordable with lots of fun vibes and sort of clubby music. If you watch the video for Girls and Boys, that's actually a great example of what I mean by that. Um, but yeah, I think it was just
Is that
young
a
men.
is that a Ibiza in that video, or is that somewhere else?
Probably, yeah. Probably
That
Ibiza,
was
yeah.
affordable. That was easy to do.
Well, yeah, from England, it's like a 2-hour flight, and
Okay.
yeah, lots, and they catered to it as well, right? Like, because of that music, that club music at the time was definitely a big part of the scene as well that they play in Ibiza. So, yeah, I think, you know, wearing Adidas, drinking beer,
Okay, hang on.
making it basic
Hang on.
now.
Okay.
Always said Ibiza. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think it's Ibiza.
Yeah, got yeah, see,
Okay.
Paul?
But you can't see Adidas. That was weird.
Adidas.
No.
Adidas.
No. Good Seth.
Well, no, I don't agree with Adidas, except, I obviously am American
But
and I grew up here, but yeah, maybe that was how, the Brits pronounced it,
well, yeah,
either
because
in jest or
Adidasler was Adidas.
And
Adolf.
nobody in the United States says it like that.
Well,
well,
uh,
just going off
I say it.
bridging off the lad culture because that term I didn't really hear it here, but you know what term popped up and was used as an overarching label was Cool Britannia, right? Which I think was something that actually started in the late 60s, but they they meaning the media, I think specifically, I just have an article pulled up here. I don't know if they were the first, but Time described Cool Britannia as the mid 1990s celebration of youth culture in the UK. So maybe lad culture is a part of Cool Britannia, or maybe that's what we called it here in the States. Did you hear that name or that phrase, Cool Britannia, over in England at the time, Wayne?
I'd be lying if I said I remembered that, but now at this point, it feels like I probably must have.
Yeah.
It was definitely there because I remember seeing that magazine, The Face, or it was just called Face. But that was a British import, and it had a big. I think I remember it having like a. I think Liam was on the cover, maybe with his girlfriend. What was her name? Was it
Patty
Kensett?
Kensit?
Is it?
Yeah, and it said Cool Britannia on it, so it was like definitely not a thing that was assigned in the US. It was definitely there in the UK.
Another interesting tidbit, Ben& and Jerry's in 1996 had a Cool Britannia flavor, ice cream flavor. It was mixed vanilla, strawberries, and fudge covered shortbread. Ah, that sounds delicious and refreshing.
Huh. I don't remember that.
That's I did not know that.
Well, okay, I think we can probably start doing broader strokes on the record. But two points. One, I love I'm nostalgic for this time when people would go and actually buy singles. I feel like that is a ritual or just thing because we just talked about how some might say and roll with it were released before the record came out, which I think is pretty standard. I think at least one or two singles back in the 90s would come out before the release of the record. But you would go, a lot of people would go to the store, get these singles, and they became very collectible, especially because someone like Oasis had such amazing B-sides that sure, you got the single before the record was coming out, and you could play it whenever you wanted to. You weren't beholden to, tuning into the radio at just the right moment to hear it. But then you also got these other songs, which I think was very, very valuable to people who are just fans of the music.
Yeah, no, I missed that too. I Yeah, getting those extra songs that you knew weren't gonna be on the album was really cool, and it's a kind of a thing that's gone away. Um,
Yeah, does anyone I know obviously a lot of singles come out pre-release of records these days, but um is anybody doing fun 12 inches, 7 inches? Being an Arctic Monkeys fan, I remember they were the last band that I'm a fan of. They had 12 inches and 7 inches for the first 3 or 4 records, with some great B-sides and some interesting tunes on it. I feel like that people have been talking about vinyl is back for the last 15 years at this point, but, it's a really popular format. You would think more people would be, um, doing cool things with the 12-inch or the 10-inch or, just putting
I mean, I
extra
think
stuff out
I
there.
think part of the issue is that if you wanna press a 12-inch single with 4 songs on it, that costs pretty much the same as pressing a full album. You're not and, like so I feel like these days, like, it's just too expensive. The labels aren't selling enough copies to warrant doing that. It would be amazing if they still did, but I think it's just cost prohibitive. Whereas, in the 90s, it was more CD singles, but they would still do the vinyl 12 inches, which I wish I had all those Oasis 12 inches, but I think I only have a couple. But yeah, nowadays it's cost prohibitive. It costs way too much to do that.
I think you
Um,
just hit the bullseye. You absolutely correct. Because I think, you had these massive labels releasing this stuff back then, and that was like the heyday of um, label excess, right? And it all kind of came crashing down 5, 6 years later when file sharing entered the picture. But you're right, labels had the money to throw away, or not away, but throw around is what I meant to say back then. And now a lot of these bands are either putting stuff out themselves or they're on smaller independent labels that just, yeah, don't have the wherewithal to do it. And then the second thing that I found interesting is how you were saying that Blur released 2 CDs, I think you said, and then maybe Oasis released a cassette. So I guess, to draw a parallel to today's music, there's some controversy there. There's definitely some discussion around things like a pop artist releasing 4 versions of their record and staggering it through the week so that they can, I guess, rise higher in the charts or whatever. So it seems like this is a tactic. It's a tale as old as time with labels of just trying to find ways to boost those numbers.
yeah, I mean, you have to give props to Oasis for they never did the dual CD single thing. I don't think there's one instance of them ever doing that, and Blur did it a lot. And you'd get the same A side on each one, made it very much seem like a cash grab.
Yeah, it's a bit Taylor Swift in it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's I mean, obviously not just Taylor, but she's probably the most high profile. I mean, Charlie did it, Billy did it, I think it's just a thing. And when I say they did it, Are they specifically doing it, or is it the team behind releasing the music and label? Probably that, but anyways, let's get time to read the back of the box here on Morning Glory. Released October 2nd, 1995, 14 months after Definitely Maybe. Recorded at Rockfield Studios in Rockfield, Wales. I have a list here of some other records recorded there. Sheer Heart Attack by Queen, 1974. Warrior on the Edge of Time, Hawkwind. Anyone dig Hawkwind here? I'm a fan.
I
Was
like
that
Hawkwind, but
Lemmy?
Yeah, well, Lemmy
yeah,
was
it's
in the
Lemmy.
first, I think the first couple of records. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he got kicked out because he was too rock and roll and not psychedelic enough.
Kilimanjaro, The Teardrop Explodes, which is a record I dig. I don't know if you guys are hip to that one. Crocodiles, Echo and the Bunnymen. Second Coming, Stone Roses, 1994. Paul's favorite album, Parachutes by Coldplay. And then a trio of records by Super Furry Animals, Fuzzy Logic, Phantom Power, and Hey Venus. Were all recorded here.
Sign me up for those.
So what a great studio. It seems really popular even before Oasis decided to record there. I mean, Queen. I think Queen might have done a night at the part of a night at the opera there as well. Notable lineup change: Alan White replaces Tony McCarroll on drums. I think Tony still played on a song. I think still there was. I think there's one song that Tony plays on, but the rest are Alan.
I don't really.
I
I don't
think.
think
Don't
so.
don't
Yeah,
quote me on that.
I read that the other day, and I can't remember which track it was now. Do some
Drums on
Googling.
track 7, which is Some Might Say. So
Oh,
they must have just recorded
okay.
that.
They canned him
Right.
after, some might say.
Yeah.
Okay, that checks out. Because that was, yeah, okay. Makes sense.
Sold 345,000 copies in its first week. I don't know if that's a UK number. Spent 10 weeks at number 1 on the UK albums chart. It hit number 4 in the US, which I think, remember last time, Definitely Maybe was, I think it like hit maybe some mid-30s at most. So definitely a much stronger showing in the US. I think we already touched on the singles, Some Might Say, followed by Roll With It.
I'd like
Morning
to
Glory.
I'd
Oh, go
like
ahead.
to make a comment about the battle between Blur and Oasis. I think I mentioned it via our text conversation. But I don't I think that the selection of singles by both bands was a huge mistake. I think they both screwed up. Roll With It is, in my opinion, one of the weakest songs on Morning Glory. Country House is fine, but it's so goofy, and I feel like Country House embodies everything that people in hindsight criticize Blur for when they just went so over the top with the Wayne, how can you describe it?
I'm gonna leave this one to you until I'm hearing you cringe. With
Okay, so I mean, just it was so like extremely British, you know? It was just it was a cultural commentary track, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about Country
But it
House.
was
Yeah.
yes, Country House. But and at the time I listened to it and I liked it, but now that I go listen to it now, I'm like, I don't enjoy this as much as a lot of the other songs on that record. And I think both bands kind of screwed up with choosing these two songs as the lead singles effectively. Obviously, some might say came out prior to Roll With It, but effectively these were the lead singles from the albums. And it's weird to me that Oasis chose Roll With It. It's just like such a middle of the road track. It's not terrible, but it's not great. They could have done much better. And then I think that I feel the same way about Blur. So it's very weird to me that we have this huge battle of bands things, and neither song were really top tier for either band.
Yeah, this is gonna surprise you. I agree with you. especially on Country House. It's a bit Benny Hill, especially a music video with Keith Allen being the businessman. He is in Fat Les, if you know them, and does comedy songs. I forget what else he's done, but pretty big comedian. And then Damien Hirst was the director of that video, but it has Matt Lucas in it too as like a doctor prescribing Keith Allen meds and then running around chasing girls and stuff. And yeah, the song's pretty, I mean, it is quite good social commentary, but it is pretty goofy. And then like Roll With It for me is, like you say, a very weak track on, maybe the weakest track on the record for Oasis.
Well, you know who agrees with you guys about this?
Is it you?
Is it you?
No, no, I love Country House, and I dig all that. But Noel Gallagher, so I think I mentioned this when we were texting, but and I'm reading off an article now. In 2019, Noel Gallagher reflected on the battle on Dermot O'Leary's Real Stories. He suggested that a chart, or actually, he did dismissed both songs as shit. He suggested that a chart race between Oasis's Cigarettes and Alcohol and Blur's Girls and Boys would have had greater merit, and then stated Roll With It has never been played by anybody since the band split up. I think he's probably referring to neither High Flying Birds or Liam's solo stuff. And of course, that's an outdated comment now because Roll With It is smack dab in the middle of the set list.
That's
Which,
hilarious.
yeah,
Me and my friends were texting the other day about the set list and was like, oh, Roll With It's made it? Weird.
I mean, do
Yeah.
you think they're doing that as like as like a comment on that song's place in history?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, one of my friends described it as a greatest hits tour, and it was hard to disagree.
I think going back a couple points on the Battle of Britpop. Um, a lot of people chalked it up to it being like kind of like a something that built up by the media, mainly to try to sell magazines or get eyeballs on their publications, which I think there's some truth to that. I do think it's worth mentioning that Blur's label, Food, actively changed the release day to match up with Roll With It. Everything that I've read points to that being an intentional decision by Food to just kind of go head to head with
Yeah,
Oasis.
I agree. That's my understanding is that they did that on purpose.
When I was reading the past couple days in preparation of this, that I think it did increase the single sales for that week, like something like 40%. So, I think it was successful in a lot of ways. I think it was, you know, unsuccessful in several others. And, there were words exchanged by the members of the band. Of course, Liam and Noel have to take everything and go overboard with it. Meaning, hold on, I
Say it.
have
You
a
gotta say it. You gotta say it.
yeah, I have a quote here. Essentially, the singles had come out at this point, but the full record hadn't been out. So I guess he was probably just commenting. Observer probably asked him about it. And he said, this is referring to Damon and Alex James specifically, the pair of them would catch AIDS and die because I fucking hate them too. So it definitely got contentious. I just remember that AIDS comment only because Noel had to come out and apologize for it.
I think the quote was, "I hope they catch AIDS and die."
Oh, yes, yes, that's what it says, saying he hoped the pair of them would catch AIDS and die because I fucking hate them too. Um,
Which is really horrible. I remember that being a thing and being like, "Yeah, okay, you kind of crossed the line there."
Very
Um,
aggressive.
it's very
it's a
aggressive.
it's a
I
very
would never say that about either of you guys, even if we got in a really big fight.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
I mean, it's a very angry person in their early to mid 20s thing to say, right? You're just, especially when you have, you're full
I
of,
actually I call bullshit on that. Like you're being recorded and this is going to be reported on. So maybe Noel was just drunk as hell when he said that. But like I don't think you can chalk that up to being like, "Oh, he was just in his early 20s."
Right. That's like when people justify a sports person who was racist on Twitter when they were 17. It's like, yeah, you should know better than to be that much of a dick.
Um, what else? I have a couple. Oh, so I think it was Alex James that this quote is attributed to, but in the aftermath of this, and I think we're talking about when I say aftermath, I think we're probably looking at a few years after because um the quote that I always hear is, "Oh, no, Blur won the battle and Oasis won the war," meaning Blur won the single battle, the chart battle, but Oasis was more successful overall in the.
So Damon just recently made a comment that said, "Oh, well, obviously Oasis won the battle, Oasis won the war," which I thought was there's something in there that is backhanded, or I don't know what it is, but I read that and I was like, there's still something in there where he's kind of like, um, it's just an unsaid thing and I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but yeah, he said something recently, but I don't have the whole quote. Maybe we should look it up.
I saw that, and I mean, I took it at face value, and I think he was just trying to be like humble about the moment. I don't know that he genuinely would believe that, given his body of work being like super eclectic. Um, but yeah, I mean, he's also not wrong, really. It is kind of true. They Oasis just dwarf Blur over here, and I don't think Blur could pull. They had like a great couple of Wembley shows, and whatever that park that they played a few years ago that for the Park Live record. But I don't think they could be pulling what Oasis is pulling right now in terms of the
No,
crowd.
I don't think they could either. But I mean, did they play 2 nights at Wembley for
Yeah,
Ballad of
two, I think.
Darren? I
Yeah,
mean, come on, like just they're hugely successful, and
they
they also
are, but
haven't been,
there's a
they
different
also
level of hype. Like
they
there's a
also haven't been away for as long.
That's true. I just think about Coachella and the disaster that that was for Blur. If that had been Oasis, regardless of how long they'd been away, I think they'd have been accepted by the crowd much, you know, more positively than Blur were.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean,
We'll
yeah.
never know.
Well, no, we'll never know.
So obviously I read that quote as well, and I took it. Here's kind of how I came away from it. If you can find multiple clips over the years of Damon being interviewed about this subject, and my recollection is he seems very somber when this topic is brought up.
Yeah,
I don't think it's something that, at least when these interviews took place, that he felt very proud of. I think he looked back at it as, maybe got caught up in just the hype of the moment. But, since then, Noel and Damon have become fairly friendly. They've even performed together, I think. Noel used to have, maybe still does have, like a cancer benefit that he does in the UK, and he invited Damon to do that at least once or twice. And I think
well,
they
they did.
even,
Didn't they do Tender together? I think Noel played guitar.
yeah,
That
yeah,
was something. But
yeah.
I
They
think
also did
I want to
Dare.
jump back. I want to jump back to where you said that Damon was very somber. I think that's totally right. I feel like I've read at least a couple interviews where he was like, I thought we were friends. Like I thought we were buddies, and it was just like, oh, haha, we're like competing. but I think that the AIDS comment really crossed the line, and I think that really affected him. He said, "I thought we were friends," and then all of a sudden it was like, "No, we're not friends." And he said that that really affected him. So it's like, I don't know. It's something to think about.
Yeah, but going back to the comment and how he said, I think he said something to the effect of Oasis won the battle, the war, everything. But I agree with Wayne that I think at this point, I think it's a few things. I think he's of an age where, this he probably it just doesn't. I don't want to say that he doesn't care, but I think so much time has passed. I think his success with Gorillaz and the Good, the Bad, and the Queen and his solo stuff has really kind of helped him realize that he is a musician that is celebrated in many respects. Um, and then I think maybe he's just made peace with it, you know? And just sure, yeah, Oasis won it. And maybe it was like okay, yeah, let's stop talking about it. I'm just gonna say they won, so no one ever asked me again. Or maybe somewhere he believes what he's saying. I don't believe it. I think, look, I mean, I think as somebody who is a big fan of both Blur and Oasis, um, it's hard for me to say that Oasis won the battle, the war, everything. And we don't have to reduce it to battles and wars and stuff like that. I think ultimately they were two bands doing different things, writing different songs, different kinds of songs with different subject matter. And I think they both had their fans. I mean, I don't know this for I don't have any evidence behind this, but I think there were probably a huge overlap between the bands. Wayne, I don't know if you know any differently, or maybe Paul, but were the Oasis fans like just not into Blur and kind of slagging them off and all of that stuff, or I just don't know how deep it went, I guess I'm
No,
saying.
it's funny you say that. When you and I went to see Blur a couple years ago, was it a couple last year, whenever it was? I mentioned it to a friend, and he was very much an Oasis fan. And I just made a comment in passing on our chain, like, "Oh, I know you don't like them, blah blah blah." And he's like, "No, I love Blur." But to me, he'd always been this huge Oasis guy. So I think there is a lot of crossover. I'm not sure about like super diehards, but at least with people my age, I think we all got over the rivalry because I was the super Blur guy back then. Um, so yeah, I do think there's a lot of crossover, and just embracing music.
I'd agree with that. I was always into both bands, and I don't feel like I ever had any friends that were like, I like this one and not that one. But it's a much easier to have that perspective in the U.S. because maybe I'm wrong, but it's like, well, they're both these British bands, and why would we need to choose one or the over the other?
The only thing that I could think of is it was positioned as like this middle class southern thing versus the working class northern thing, right? And when you frame it like that, I think there's probably going to be a lot of pride depending on where you're coming from. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just speculating, really.
Yeah, I mean you're right, but I also think that's bullshit as well.
So ultimately, Country House won. It outsold Roll with It by 54,000 copies, which seems negligible, but also, England doesn't have that many people. So, to
But
scale.
also, like I said, there were two CD singles, and Oasis
Oh,
had
right.
one.
Yeah.
And I can't help but be like, well, how is that? Because if you're a Blur fan, you're probably buying both.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just
The collectability of especially, as we were talking about, people love buying singles and, kind of being a completist when it comes to catalogs. So yeah, you're right. I think they probably were buying.
So, should we just dip into the album now? I think that's what we need to do.
Opening track, Gary Glitter, credited.
Oh yeah, that was a whole
Uh,
thing. That was after the fact, right? Didn't he
no, it was
somebody
before. It
made a
was
fuss?
way before. Wasn't it,
Oh, it
Wayne?
was?
I don't know. I
I think it
haven't
was
got a UK
way
like.
before he got. It was definitely before.
Oh,
Wait,
before he came out
before what?
he was outed as a pedo, right? But I mean,
Yes,
but it wasn't immediately a thing. Like they didn't have to credit him when the record first came
I
out. It
think
was
they
like a
did. I
Oh,
think they
really?
did immediately have to credit him. Yeah.
Interesting. What do we think about Hello?
I like it. I think it's it's got very strong intention behind it and a very strong message behind it. And it's kind of funny because, you know, it's only a year and since they released their last record, and it's not that long since you heard the last of them. But, it really made an impression on me.
I think it's a great opening track. It's really solid. And listening to it this morning, walking down a country road in the middle of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, it struck me. I thought about this. I was like, oh, so Noel plays like wah guitar through almost the whole way through. Can you guys name a song that might have influenced him to do that?
Hold on.
You're
I'm thinking.
typing and
That
cheating.
is totally cheating. We hear you.
Crosstown Traffic by Jimi Hendrix is my answer.
No, no.
All
The
right,
correct
what's
answer
the
is The Queen is Dead. The correct answer is The
Oh.
Queen is Dead, where Johnny Marr plays wah wah guitar throughout the entire thing.
He
And I'm
does?
pretty sure that that's what influenced Noel to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe it. Especially since we didn't really talk about this with Definitely Maybe, but how did Noel get linked up with Johnny Marr? Oh, maybe the Manchester connection. Maybe they just kind of
Probably,
knew each
yeah.
other. But I thought it was crazy. Like, oh, you already know a Smith, and your first record hasn't even come out yet. But, yeah, that's an interesting tidbit, Paul. Did you just connect the dots on that today?
I mean, I bought that Johnny Marr guitar. It's called Mars Guitars. And it's like mostly a photo book of all his guitars, but there's a lot of interviews. And he talks about how he first met Noel Gallagher. And s- somebody gave Johnny Marr's brother or something like a cassette of Oasis, and it got to him, and he straight up called Noel Gallagher up on the phone, and then they like hung out, which sounds completely absurd, but that's pretty much my understanding. Like that Johnny Marr was hanging out with Noel Gallagher before they even recorded Supersonic.
I could see that only because Noel being a roadie and kind of being amongst you know quote unquote rock stars or certainly people in the music industry. And then, here comes my American ignorance. How big is Manchester, Wayne? Is it a big city, or could he just bump into him, at going to get a cuppa down on the
So
corner?
it's a pretty big city.
Oh, okay, never mind. There goes that theory. I thought maybe it was just a nice little town in the suburbs that just happened to have two massive uh, football teams.
No, I want to say maybe the fourth biggest city, maybe third in England.
I like Hello. I think it's a great opening track. I know they're opening the current set with it, which I think fits very well. I do like how it says it's good to be back. And they, they didn't really go away, but it reminds me of every time Eminem would release a record in the 90s and the early 2000s, he would always say it's good to be back before like half the songs on the record. Which makes it really, if you listen to those tracks now, it kind of makes it feel very just not. It's a weird thing. So I think maybe this is their hip hop moment of, guess who's back? We're back. Obviously, Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger are massive songs. I don't know that I have anything to say about either, other than I think both are fantastic. Even as played out, I guess you could. Many people might say they're played out, depending on how you feel about them. Obviously, they got a lot of play on the radio. The videos were huge. Probably they're two of their most well known songs, not their most well known, but I mean Wonderwall has got to be right. Don't
Yeah.
Look Back in Anger probably takes a back seat to Live Forever. Live Forever's got to come first, maybe even Supersonic. But so top five, both of these for sure.
So when I bought the album, the only two songs I'd heard aside from the B-sides were Roll With It and Some Might Say. And I remember listening to it and getting to Wonderwall and be like, oh my God, this song's fantastic. Like the drumming on that song in particular is something that I don't think Tony McCarroll could have done. Super tasteful brushes. It's got Mellotron and cello on it. And it's totally different than anything they'd ever done before. And I think that's a thing that maybe people don't think about, but it's so wildly different than anything on Definitely Maybe. And just everybody's heard it a bazillion times. But I remember listening to the record and thinking, this song's amazing. This is going to be a huge hit. Like, it was so obvious to me. That was the one that stuck out to me that I hadn't heard before. That was like, oh, this one made a big impression on me.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I mean, I remember listening to that on my school bus on the way home from school, and it just really striking a chord with me. And I find it such an important song in my musical upbringing. I read recently that Noel wrote it for Liam to sing. Liam didn't want to sing it because he didn't like the song, apparently. And then when Noel said he thought it was going to be a really big international hit, Liam changed his tune and was like, "Yeah, I actually do like it," and he sang it, and I'm really pleased for that because it suits his voice um, really well, and it is so different for him to sing a song like that versus what we'd heard before. So yeah, I think it's an incredible song, and even though people say, "Anyway, here's Wonderwall" these days, uh, we shouldn't dismiss its place. It's just so good.
So my understanding of the story is slightly different than yours. My understanding is that Noel said you can do the vocal on either Wonderwall or Don't Look Back in Anger, and I'll do whichever one you don't want to do. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right that Liam was like, I'm doing Wonderwall, which is
Huh.
pretty nuts because it's like, well, both of those songs are so massive, but like Don't Look Back in Anger is the Noel vocal, the one they always play last, the huge sing along.
Yeah, I can't actually see Liam singing that, which is really funny.
Neither can I, and part of that is like, has my brain just been programmed because that's how it's always been? But I don't think so. I think, also to me, it's it's fantastic to think about how, I mean, Noel was just quarterbacking this band, sp certainly for these first 2 records. Like, he had a stranglehold on the decisions. Um, so I just love him being like, "No, you can have one or the other, and then I'm gonna do the one that you don't pick." Just I can picture that clearly in my mind.
Which I also think speaks to Noel just knowing that these are the two huge singles.
Yeah, I mean, his IQ as far as these things go, of just having a sense of what is gonna be good. Obviously, we can talk about his songwriting and how, just how he he just has these great melodies and stuff, and the songs are so good, especially if we're looking at the first 2 records. I think, everyone can agree on that. Even if you wanna, slam the most everything that came after, these 2 records are full of really well-written songs. Um,
Don't Look Back in Anger is a pretty massive song, and I guess the one thing that pops into my mind is how there was that bombing incident, right? In Manchester, would think it was in Manchester, that stadium. I can't remember what artist it was, but there was a bombing incident, right? Well,
eh,
Yes, the
so
Manchester bombing in
yes.
2017 at the Ariana Grande concert.
Right. And so I believe that Liam wanted to do a performance with Noel as Oasis because that song was the song that people started spontaneously singing in response to the bombing. That's my understanding. And Noel turned him down, was like, I'm not doing this. And Liam, I think, used that against him. And so I guess there's multiple topics here. One, that song is just massive in the UK. It's huge. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. And that was kind of used in response to that bombing as a message of hope, I would say.
Yeah, well,
And,
it's
and,
like
and I think Liam, go ahead, Wayne.
I was just gonna say it's like this big symbol of I don't know, being togetherness and yeah, hope.
And I think Liam was pissed that Noel just didn't want to reform. I think he wanted to be like, we got to play this song, or I don't know. I don't remember the specifics, but Noel just said, no, I'm not doing it. And I think Liam laid into him, and that probably furthered the divide between the two brothers. But I think that in the grand scheme, it's like that song is so huge. It's certainly bigger than Wonderwall. So maybe Liam chose the wrong song. Um, I would love to hear the version of that song with Liam singing it. It's hard to imagine. But that song is such an anthem. Like it's such a despite the goofy lyrics that make no sense, it's it's a feel good song and it's like anthemic. It makes people hug each other.
It does. It's what I sing with other drunk England fans when we inevitably lose a really big game.
so I know the one thing that I wanted to just mention, because I know last time we were talking about the Beatles' influence with definitely maybe, and how maybe it's not really there yet. Um, this record's, or I mean, this song certainly. I've read people say that the piano intro sounds like Imagine. I actually think it sounds like Watching the Wheels, another Lennon song, more than Imagine. But both are mentioned, and I think Noel is even kind of fessed up to it. So yeah, certainly the Beatles' influence is starting to kind of become more apparent. The lyric, "Gonna start a revolution from my bed," is certainly probably a nod to John Lennon and Yoko Ono's bed-ins. So
Yeah,
yeah, starting to peek its head through.
I think Lennon also said that the brains he had went to his head. Um, so it makes sense. I think I've heard Noel say that before.
Yeah, I was reading something that seems so, I guess, odd. Let me pull it up. So I guess Noel said that he had this tape that had been stolen from the Dakota, which is obviously, where John Lennon lived and Yoko still lives. And apparently it was a cassette of John Lennon had started to record his autobiography, or his just kind of gathering his memoirs. And I guess he says something about the brains I had went to my head. The thing that feels odd is I've never, and I feel like I've read a lot about Lennon, especially during this time period. Certainly not everything, admittedly, but I tried to dig into this a little more if there were actually tapes stolen from the Dakota, and couldn't really find anything. But yeah, that's interesting story for sure.
We're just lucky McCartney and Peter Jackson didn't find those tapes because we'd have
Oh
had
god.
a weird AI song.
Well, they're gonna hear this podcast and then they're gonna go do it. So we're gonna have to edit this part out too.
Well, Peter Jackson has reached out to me a couple times, but I just haven't had time to get back to him.
Anything else about "Don't Look Back in Anger"? People
Nah,
say, well,
no.
people say I'm crazy. No. I've heard people say, maybe Oasis has said this, that the title is referencing the Bowie song "Look Back in Anger." I don't know how true
I
that
mean,
is.
it checks out. Makes sense.
You got Paul Weller playing harmonica on this beast. The
Yeah.
harmonica is the unsung hero of Oasis.
Okay, yes, that's you've mentioned this before.
What
Okay, we can.
song?
I think we can. I think we can move on to
It'll come up again.
"Hey Now." Hey now.
I
And
I fucking love this song. I don't know what it is, but it always hit me on a different level. It I think it lyrically is really good. Maybe someone can change my mind on that.
I mean, I think this would have been a better choice as a single than Roll With It. But maybe I'm wrong about that. But I actually do have, when we get to the B-side section, a song that you guys won't guess that I think should have replaced Roll With It. But I think Hey Now would have been better. It's that, yeah, I love it. It's a kind of a powerful, just like this rollicking giant of a song that just like rips.
I agree too. And fair. We need to be fair here if we're going to talk about Noel's lyrics and how good and or bad they are. Um, the opening two lines of this track, "I hitched a ride with my soul by the side of the road just as the sky turned black." I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, I think personally, I think that's amazing writing.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's definitely better than slowly walking down the hall faster than a cannonball.
Or, the previous song, "Stand Up Beside the Fireplace."
The second verse, first thing I saw as I walked through the door was a sign on the wall that read, "I said you might never know what I want you to know. What's written inside of your head," is also very good.
Yeah, I think this is my vote thus far. We'll see as we get down deeper into the catalog. But I think
Yeah.
I'm going to give this the vote. You know,
I
my
might
vote for
argue I might argue this is my favorite Oasis song.
Wow,
I really, really love it.
powerful words.
bold
Yeah,
choice.
always just loved it.
Powerful words from a newly uh
Well, yeah, the person that knows two records really
well,
well, and the rest on a surface level. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that "Be Here Now." That's going to be a great conversation with you,
I'm
Wayne.
looking forward to it. I've been listening in on some more stuff and expanding, what I know. So
did you manage to make it all the way through all around the world yet?
no,
It's so bad.
yeah, I remember the music video for that one, but we'll get to that.
Next up, "Untitled," but also we know it as the Swamp Song Part One.
On Spotify, it says the Swamp Song excerpt number 1. So
Oh,
they've
Ooh,
interesting.
renamed it on the
they
reissue.
badged it, you fool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
I mean,
don't.
I love the fact that they have this jamming uh instrumental that fades out, right? And then when we get to the second part, right before Champagne Supernova, it fades in again.
I always remember it striking me as being quite interesting. It's not that I love the track or anything. It's just it was different and it seemed to come out of nowhere. Um, and I just today found out that Paul Weller did play the harmonica on it. So that's
Oh,
exciting for me as a big Weller fan.
I today was thinking about as I was listening to it, I was like, why did they choose to cut Swamp Song, kind of bring little excerpts in and out in two spots? And my first reaction, just my first thought when that popped into my head and that song came on was, well, it would have just been cooler if they just put the whole thing on there. But then I got to the whole thing and listened to it on the second disc, so to speak, second disc on Spotify. And they totally made the right decision. Having that come in and out is super cool. And I also think the way that it's labeled on the album as sort of untitled is mysterious. It totally works. And it just, they clearly put thought into how it would help the flow of the album. And it definitely works. I think it's great.
I didn't know it was just untitled on the back of the CD. I always remember it being called Swamp Song.
did
That's just,
Oasis call it Swamp Song, or did
I,
the fans dub it the Swamp
I
Song?
always thought it was on
No,
CD.
it like I'm fairly confident that it was just called Untitled 1 and Untitled 2 on the CD or they when it originally was released.
Huh.
Probably also worth mentioning that this was prior to Fucking in the Bushes being the walkout song. This was the song that they would start with. Now, I should have checked this before we started, but Paul, maybe you know, was it did they come out to this as a pre-recorded track like they do now with Fucking in the Bushes, or would they actually play this and then just dive into the actual set?
Um, I only saw them once for Morning Glory, and my memory of that gig is weirdly less specific than the ones for Definitely Maybe. Like I remember being there. I don't I can't even say. I don't know.
Yeah, probably a quick YouTube search would answer the question. Um, yeah, I'll look it up after. But yeah, fun track, and I agree with Paul. I like how they split it up. It fits with the flow of the LP. So now we move on to Some Might Say.
Sorry, just before that, I need to call my dad tomorrow and ask him to find the CD because I swear it was called Swamp Song on the back.
You're having the Mandela effect, man.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Thoughts on Some Might Say? Their first number one on the UK singles chart.
I like this song.
I thought it was yeah, it's a great song. I like it a lot. I like the artwork a lot, which I think has Brian Cannon's dad is the guy who's carrying the wheelbarrow full of fish. Yeah, the single is great. The B-sides are great. It was really exciting when it came out.
So being the lead single off the new up and coming record, Paul, do you remember, well, it sounds like you liked it from the beginning and were excited about it, but did you have any thoughts about, because when you hear a new song, the first song off the new record, I don't know, you kind of have some thoughts about it, right? Like, oh, okay, they're going in a slightly different direction, or this is very similar but different, or this sounds exactly the same. They're just you know what I mean? You kind of have like you get a sense of like what, or you try to make assumptions, I guess, of what the whole record is going to sound like based off that first song.
I mean, to me, it was a very obvious. It wasn't a big departure, but it was just a really good song. And the B-sides were great, and I remember being like, "Holy crap, like, they're still they're still on it, like, they're still like, they're just unstoppable at this point."
Agreed. Also, lyrically, again, it's like the verses in particular are very good, especially the second half of the first verse. Like, some might say we should never ponder on our thoughts today because they hold sway over time. That's really good. Really good writing. Um, I mean, standing at the station in need of education in the rain, I could take or leave. But yeah, overall, lyrically, I think this song is very good.
Agree?
Yeah, I don't think it's like it wasn't a big departure, but it's a great track, and in my opinion, far better than Roll With It, which is just
Way
I
better.
I still think Roll With It was just a huge I think Roll With It shouldn't even be on the record.
Yeah, harsh but true.
But I can't wait until I can reveal the track that I think should replace it.
Well, no, I want to hear that.
Should we do that right now?
Wait, where are we in the record order right now?
Well, we have
Are we at roll with it, or have we passed that? Oh no,
we
we
passed
went way past roll with it. Jesus.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Fuck, we should have done your track that should replace roll with it at roll with it.
No, I think we'll get to it when we get the
All right.
B-sides, which will be in about 6 hours.
Well, up next we have Cast No Shadow, which of course is a tribute to Richard Ashcroft.
Huh. I
Uh,
did
the
not know
Verve
that.
had just the Verve had just broken up for the first time, and I think Oasis had toured with the Verve. Obviously, I think they probably looked at the Verve and especially Richard as maybe I don't want to say elder statesman, but I mean they had already had success, um, a few years before, but they were buddies, right? And obviously,
Oasis definitely opened for the Verve.
yes.
So, like, that's important to note.
So I remember reading, and this was ages ago, so I don't know if I'm making this up, but it's it's less of a tribute. Like I don't know if they're singing specifically about Richard and more. My understanding it was more of um a dedication versus like an actual Richard standing on a facing the sun and casting no shadow, like being specifically him doing that. But that's just from memory.
I I kind of feel like Noel wrote the song about Richard Ashcroft. Like, I think that the song, I could be wrong, but I feel like it is just about him, but I might be wrong about that. Like, it's hard we might never be able to get to the bottom of that. But
Is he a
I
band?
think
Well,
I think they were friends, and I think that this was around the time when the Verve broke up, as you said, for the first time, womp womp. Um, and I think that he had Richard in mind when he was writing it. We could do a whole nother episode about the Verve. Well, we should do some episodes about the Verve. But yeah, I kind of think it was written for and about him.
yeah, just thinking about the lyrics, he was bound with the weight of all the words he tried to say. I could buy that being about um Richard Ashcroft and Noel kind of obviously he the fan of the Verve and maybe feeling some feels about them having broken up and the future of a band that breaks up is always so um whatever do they just go away or no one had really you're not guaranteed to go on and have solo success. So probably just really thinking about, wow, that was a great band that has just imploded. Um, and that's that. And then of course they reunited again, broke up again, and then again. But we're talking about closer to the beginning, first time they broke up.
I always
Which
liked it, and now
Well,
I didn't know it was a Richard Ashcroft tribute. That's what put me off now. But I do like the song. I always did.
you got to think about the Verve in 1995. So they had a Storm in Heaven and they had a Northern Soul. If they
Good
had ceased
record.
to exist completely and they had never gone on and done, urban hymns or fourth, um, I mean, those two records on their own, fucking amazing. So,
Yeah, they're great.
yeah, if I were Noel, I probably would have been really destroyed too. That this fantastic band that, um, I guess never really got their due. I don't really have context for how big the Verve were in the UK. I'm assuming they were,
well,
fairly popular.
they went from having to Oasis open for them to them opening for Oasis, and then they broke up. And I think that Ashcroft was definitely buddies with those guys, obviously, because he's still playing opening for them, playing five songs from Urban Hymns and two solo songs. I don't want to get into this, but they're still friends.
Yeah. Anything else about Cast No Shadow?
No, I like the imagery of it. I think it's a very nice song.
It makes me always think of an autumnal day, walking amongst the leaves and turning around and realizing you're not casting a shadow. It's a fucking vampire, right?
Here's an interesting thing that I always think of this record as my walk home from my school bus, and it makes me feel very cozy, and it takes me back to being really young. My school bus stop was like a mile away from my house, so I had to walk along these country roads. And this song always hit me when the sun was setting. And so, yeah, totally get that vibe. Yeah, it's cool.
I love when songs or entire records can really just bring back vivid imagery from 20, 30 years ago, I think
Yeah,
it's really powerful.
there's also a legend of a ghost dog that roamed the marshes where I lived. Um, so this song was kind of spooky as I was walking home. It's quite a good vibe.
Crikeys.
Crikey.
She's electric. What do we got to say about this? I mean, let me take lead on this because this was actually I'm reading that this was supposed to be on Definitely Maybe, but was replaced by Digsy's Dinner, which is, I look at those songs as feeling very similar. Um, I feel like they're both bouncy. I feel like they have um humorous lyrics. Obviously Digsy's Dinner talks about lasagna. She's electric. Um, she's got one in the oven, but it's nothing to do with me. Yeah, I see them as spiritual siblings, and I like.
This Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was done.
Oh, no, this track would have gone head to head with Country House really well. Like, let's go full on camp,
Yeah.
observational England, but roll with
So
it.
so this is Liam doing a bit of a falsetto, right? I think we talked
Yeah,
a little bit. Want you to know.
it sounds good
Uh,
too.
yeah, he's nailing it. I actually like this track is definitely kind of a throwaway one, but I like it better than Big Digsy's Dinner.
Do we think Liam could hit that note live today?
No.
I don't think so either. Do we think he could hit that? I don't know if I've ever seen a live performance from back in the day of She's Electric. They must have played it, right?
I
I'm
think
gonna have
so.
to dig that up. I would like to see that. Um, yeah, I like it. It's a good song. Reached number 11 in the United Arab Emirates. FYI.
Amazing, amazing.
Wow, people can come here for these tidbits. It's gonna be great.
Oh yeah. And then we got Morning Glory, right?
Excellent.
Yes. I mean, just blockbuster of a song. It comes roaring in like a banshee, like a locomotive.
Sound like Jeremy Clarkson. Came roaring in like a banshee. It does though. That's the helicopter video, right?
No, that's do you know what I mean? That's on
Is
the
there a
next record.
helicopter
But
sound
there's
at the start?
helicopter sounds on it. There's yes.
Oh,
Yes,
Yeah.
there
yes.
is.
Okay.
Badass. So good.
Wayne, you should get helicopter sounds on your band's first single.
I'm gonna pitch it.
Do it. Yeah, Morning Glory is great.
It's got
Well, it's got the cocaine reference,
Yeah.
you know, Chain to the Mirror and the Razor Blade, which all the middle-aged mothers loved, I'm sure, at the time. Yeah, so this song is like I don't even know what is it about, like, it's just another Oasis song about, like, trying to get out of poverty. Uh, t Does that check out?
Yeah, I mean if we wanna maybe riff on interpretations, um, need a little time to wake up. Um, maybe that's in reference to maybe not being able to achieve all your dreams right out of the gate, right? So maybe this was null and pure speculation. Maybe he's said exactly what it's about somewhere. I don't know. But me sitting here right now, not knowing, maybe he's a roadie. He's around music, but he's not explicitly up on stage himself yet. So maybe it's a tribute to persistence, and that persistence paying off.
I mean, another sunny afternoon, walk into the sound of my favorite tune. I think it has a lot to do with just dreaming about achieving your goals.
Yeah, and I think, if we're gonna go back to definitely maybe in Rock and Roll Star, that was a song that they wrote before they were actually rock and roll stars. So now they're bona fide newly minted rock and roll stars. And so, I think they're writing about things in a different way, but with similar themes. Wayne, do you have any thoughts?
I switched off when you said, rock and roll star. Um,
Wayne doesn't like rock and roll star.
Oh,
uh,
fair enough.
It
I mean,
says it's like a bad musical number. Remember?
that's right. It is. It hits hard.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I just went into a Reddit hole and was reading. Somebody just thought this was about the daily grind of getting ready for work and shaving in front of a mirror. Um,
oh,
and
nah.
I don't see that at all.
It's about that riding that white pony. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I do need a little time to wake up in the morning.
Oh, I definitely do.
Well, okay, let's like dissect it real quick. It doesn't take much time. All your dreams are made when you're chained to the mirror and the razor blade. It's just about like obviously there. I think it's day to day grind and then partying your ass off and be like, man, one day I'm gonna do it, you know?
Mm,
And you're high as fuck and you're like, all your friends are like, yeah, okay, idiot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it really is that simple, isn't it? Like,
I think it is.
Guys, I just realized we made a grave error. We did not talk about the vinyl only track, Bonehead's Bank Holiday.
Well, I don't think we need to talk about that until after we finish getting through all the album tracks.
Well, this technically was on the album,
Well,
the
okay,
vinyl version.
where was it?
What'd you say?
Where was
where
it?
was
And
it?
yeah, where was it?
It was now you're gonna make me reach for it again. It was right after oh man. So the vinyl version has Swamp Song Part 1 going right into Bonehead's Bank Holiday, which obviously Swamp Song going into Some Might Say is the better transition. So I don't know what they were thinking with the sequencing on this one. Except maybe punishing people who bought
So
the
where
LP
was it
version.
again? Where was it?
It's after Swamp Song Part 1. It's sandwiched in between Swamp Song Part 1 and Some Might Say. If you uh, Paul, I think you said you have the 2009 release, which I also have. It's on there. So
Okay. Well, I'm not at home, so I can't check it, but I believe you.
I thought you brought your entire vinyl collection on your week-long trip to
Well,
Michigan.
that's absurd, and I know you don't actually think that, and you're
If you had a mini disc player, those mini discs are very easy to transport. I mean, you just put them in like a big sack and you have your whole collection with you. Moving right along. And then you have a Swamp Song excerpt 2, and then of course Champagne.
wait. I do have comments about Bonehead's Bank Holiday because I listened to that today.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was like, I don't even know how this goes. I couldn't even think of how it goes in my mind, which is weird. And I listened to it and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of banter at the beginning, which is annoying. And then they kind of go into the song and it's very jokey. And my take from it was like, well, if you would have actually taken the song seriously, it could have been at the caliber of Dixie's Dinner and She's Electric, but they kind of made it into this goofy Beach Boys. You know that Beach Boys like album that's like Beach Boys Beach Party or whatever, and it's like the one that Barbara Ann came from, and
Yeah.
it's like there's a bunch of bullshit people hanging out kind of sounds. And it's like, that's what they did on this. And it's like, well, it could have been a better song, but they just chose to they chose to downplay it in that way for whatever reason.
So quick little story. So when I saw Nolan Gem do that acoustic show in I think 2005, which I stopped to think about this the other day. 2005, which was 10 years removed from the release of What's the Story Morning Glory, which it seemed like an eternity at the time, but it's crazy that it was so just recent in the lifespan of the band. But anyway, so I saw them in LA, and then I think they played a couple other dates. One specifically in Toronto that was broadcast on the radio. So I actually had a radio rip and MP3s of it. I don't know what happened to it. I'm kind of bummed. I was trying to search for it the other day because it's such a fantastic show and I've listened to it so much. But my point is, throughout the show, people are yelling songs out in between. And to when Noel even says, "Yeah, hey, listen, this is I have a set list here that I'm not prepared to divert from," which is kind of funny. We're talking about how, the set lists kind of are stuck, and um, just not really changing songs. So it's funny that he actually kind of just stated it. But someone at one point yelled out Bonehead's Bank Holiday. And Noel goes, Bonehead's Bank Holiday, that wasn't even a good idea at the time. So, I don't know. I always got a laugh out of that because I don't think this song fits anywhere on a vinyl version, on a B-side. Just, let's erase this one from history, guys.
Yeah, I genuinely don't
Is it
remember
that
it.
bad?
For me,
I
it
don't think
is.
it's that bad.
I'm a defender. I think I'm out of the three of us, I'm the one that defends most of the songs that you guys don't really care for. But I don't think I can defend this one.
Okay. I
What was
I
it?
genuinely
prefer
say.
Blur's Bank Holiday over
Oh, that's a great
Oasis's
song.
Bonehead's Bank Holiday.
Seth, what was the tour that you saw him on that you mentioned?
It was just an acoustic. Well, okay, so it was that documentary we were talking about last episode, which I'm gonna get the name wrong again, so Paul, you need to correct me. Lord, Don't Slow Me Down.
Yes.
So that was the reason for the mini tour.
Mm.
They basically showed that film, and then Nolan Gem came out and did a fairly lengthy show. I mean, I want to say they played maybe 12 to 15. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
correct, but um and mostly B-sides.
Was that in LA?
So yeah, it was at like the a veterans Legion it was something like that. It was a definitely not a common place to see a band from my understanding. I mean, I never went back there to see any other band, nor have I ever did I ever notice anyone ever playing there again. But it was in kind of West LA, kind of like around UCLA
Yeah.
area. Matt went to that show too, and I want to say he even went with Axel and hung out with Noel at Cat and Fiddle, but I
Wow.
might be making that up.
I would love to hear that performance. Like, I had no idea that you attended that, and I hope there's a recording of it.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where, I didn't really value. I kind of played fast and loose with my MP3s and my hard drives, and it was a youthful mistake, I guess.
You should go down to the Atlanta Amoeba and ask them if they can get it for you on CD.
I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Then
The
do
Champagne
B-sides.
Supernova.
Yep.
That's the epic, right? 7 minutes long.
Yeah. Makes you feel floaty.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic song. I mean, when I think of where I was, so I guess I was 15, living in upstate New York. At least with the people that I listened to this record with, um, this was, I mean, this was up there with "Don't Look Back in Anger" and "Wonderwall." Really, it was, if you had to pick three songs that summed up this record, at least in that time, 1995, those would be the three, right? At least that's how I viewed it.
Yeah, and it's a common closer, right? Aren't they closing with it, like, right now on this tour?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a really big song. I think I'd agree with you on it being the people's top 3 on the record.
It's interesting because I don't think it was released as a single anywhere outside of Australia. Yeah, it was released as the sixth and final single in Australia and New Zealand. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it elevated itself just for most fans, it sounds like, just based off the pure merit of the song itself. It wasn't, I don't know, like, would radio stations still pull non-album tracks and play them? I'm trying to remember if
I think Champagne Supernova might have been released as a single in a limited capacity. You know, every once in a while there was like songs where it's like, well, we're not actually releasing, a physical version of this, but there'll be like promos and it will be played on the radio. I think that might have been what it was.
yeah, I mean, I guess I always assumed that they released it just in Australia, probably to coincide with the tour or something.
I don't think there was a physical, there might, so the physical CD, whatever, single release might have been limited to, like, Australia, New Zealand, whatever.
That's probably what it was, yeah.
So it's
But
like
I'm not now
an
I'm
album
curious now I'm
grab.
curious, it's like, well, what was on the B-side of anything, if anything?
Oh, I can tell you because I have it,
I would love for you to tell me.
yeah, I'm gonna tell you,
I would
but,
love it. I can't wait.
I gotta vamp a little bit here because I need to click back a couple times. Okay, so it was, Uh, Slide Away was
Just
the
the
B-side.
studio version?
It it doesn't specify that, but, it doesn't say live or anything in parentheses.
That's so
Um,
weird.
which, you know, it speaks to it not being a wider release, right? So they didn't, you know, no offense to Australia and New Zealand, but they didn't waste a a great B-side that was only then distributed in one or two countries, you know
Well,
what I mean?
I'm sure all of our listeners would love to know. Are
Yeah,
you
I mean, I'm
are
not dissing
no, what
Australia.
let's just hang on. Are you, as the host, willing to order a copy of that CD to figure out what that version of Slide Away is?
Seems
Well, I
like
can
a
just,
responsibility.
No, you can't just Google it and listen to it. You have to get the physical copy.
alright, let's see here. Let me see how much it costs on I mean, someone in the US has gotta have the single, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, let's see here. For sale,
I
36
can't.
copies, $11. Wait a minute. No, that's different. That was they released that with Stop the Clock, so that was a later. Um, holy shit. This thing goes for 40 bucks in the US, the lowest price. Um, yeah, I don't think I can plunk down that type of cash.
So what's the cheapest copy available in the US is $40?
Yeah, 44.97 with shipping.
Oh, that's a lot. It's just 2 songs?
Yeah.
Is there artwork?
Oh, wait a second. So this track list says Champagne Supernova radio edit, which is 5 minutes long, and then the full version, and then Slide Away. And then the cover is just them. Looks like they're on a video shoot set with uh, some shooting lights behind them. It's just their shadows. Yeah, this is an interesting one. Wait a second. So Slide Away, and it has three. Yeah, it's the studio version. Taken
That
from
is
the Helter Skelter
that's
album,
a
definitely maybe.
what is the Helter Skelter album?
Well, Helter Skelter was the label that it was released on in Australia.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
wait a minute.
upsetting.
No, Helter Skelter was an Oasis imprint on um, Sony. So they must have had that. I thought that was later on. I thought that was kind of Be Here Now era, but they um must have predated that. Yeah, label created for Oasis by Sony Music.
So it's just a studio version.
Yeah, it's just the studio version, which, you know,
Lame. That's
it
a
sounds like
weird and
Oasis is
lame
the one who is
choice.
dissing Australia, not me.
Oh. To all our
Um,
Australian listeners
any
out there, we love you so much.
any lingering thoughts on Champagne Supernova, and then we
Another
can wrap and pick up
another
B-sides and any
another
extra.
Paul Weller moment.
Yeah, is he playing harmonica on this?
Guitar and backing vocals, apparently.
Did Paul play harmonica in the jam or style?
He's definitely played it solo.
Yeah.
He also played harmonica on my favorite song on what is the Noel album? He played harmonica on the song Love is the Law, which I love that song.
The Seahorses?
No, you idiot. I'm so pissed off now.
Uh,
Anyways, we'll put a pin in it there, and let's find a time to regroup and finish this beast off. We're at hour 48, but a lot of that's going to be left on the cutting room floor, so to speak.
So I think there is a Love is the Law song on that stupid Seahorses album, but
Wait a
there
minute.
is there is, but there's also a song, the song that I'm talking about, which if you AI is dumb enough to like even figure this out. AI is like, Johnny Marr played harmonica on this song. If love is the law,
Yeah.
uh, on Who Built the Moon.
Well, how should we wrap this then, as we're still here?
Oh, we could just wrap.
How do
We
you
could just
just
say,
cut it off with "you idiot"?
I
yeah. We
liked
could just
that.
say,
I love that.
yeah, you idiot, and then silence, and then bumper music.
Well, seeing as I'm an idiot, I think this is a good time for us to wrap. And we will be picking up next time when we discuss the B-sides to Oasis's What's the Story? Morning Glory. Good day. There you go.